Hi there. Welcome back to the Big 25, our third part. As you can see, I look different because when I originally recorded this video, the third section got screwed up. So while I won't have the same energy, and I hope to not repeat myself from the prior section, let's finish up this Big 25. I hope you had a restful little break, that you took a break between videos, and you're ready to go. So here we are, the Big 25, Section 3. So medical Hinduism, number 20. So Ayurveda, or what we call, or what you, when you're wandering around, you're looking at salons, you'll see products that are called Aveda. Now, Aveda means, the is a negative prefix, so it literally means not Veda, which could, this is a joke I make with Indians often. I'll say, it's like, wait a minute, you're calling your product Aveda? Does that just mean naive? Because Veda means truth, so not truth, naive. So Ayurveda, the science of life. The in Aveda, or the Ayur here, means sort of life winds and life force, sort of the knowledge of how to expand your life force based on your diet and by using natural and organic medicines. Ayurveda goes back probably to the 2nd century CE, maybe even earlier. At least our first scriptures are there. So Ayurveda, the science of health and building up the life by herbs and practices. These include skin treatments, such as rubbing oils and whatnot onto your skins. You can see on the right, they call it Rajadari, which is like this dripping of like medicated oils onto your head. It goes dot, 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 dot. I think it's totally weird. The idea is in Ayurveda that everything in the world and the self consists of 3 things: sattwas, rajas, and tamas. Tamas is torpitude. It's like a rock or a potato or, I don't know, Miller Lite beer. And then rajas is like action, movement. So like spicy foods, garlic, running, like running water, a fast moving car would be rajas. And then sattvas is purity. So that's like pure light. With foods, it's considered to be sort of like whole grains and whole vegetables, no spices, no salt. So when I stay in Hindu ashrams and they serve a sattvic diet, I've noticed that I gain weight every time because you're eating all this like really delicious but kind of bland food, so it has no spices, so you tend to eat more of it. So we'll talk more about this as the course progresses, but Ayurveda seeks to balance those 3 aspects. Political Hinduism, and this is hard to ignore these days. I'm going to talk about 3 different ideas here. One, the stories of a Hindu leader named Shivaji and his way of uniting the Marathi people. And I'm also going to talk about the contemporary political groups, the BJP and the VHP. And I'm going to talk generally about Hindu nationalism. The idea here, though, is that political Hinduism is Hindu fundamentalism, people that believe that India is only for the Hindus, that Hinduism comes from India, and India is a Hindu nation, and the Muslims should get the heck out of there. However, the majority of the Muslims there, well, all the Muslims in India say, no, we're Indian. So Hindu fundamentalism really argues that Hinduism is the religion of India, and no one else should be involved in ruling over Hindus other than Hindus. So in the 18th century, there's this hero named Shivaji, and he conquered over all the Muslim rulers, the Mughal rulers at the time. Now, he was found in sort of the west and the south of India. And before this time, all of the folks here who are called Marathas, these are as a large ethnic group and a people that weren't really unified. But when Shivaji fought against and triumphed over and kicked the Muslim rulers out of the area, he was crowned the king or even the emperor of this area that is now Maharashtra, where Bombay is. And he united the people around a collective ethnic and religious identity as Hindu Marathas. To this day, when you see Hindu fundamentalists in this area of India, they call themselves the Shiv Sena, the army of Shiva. There are great stories about Shivaji, and he was a tremendous fighter. He's even known to kill a Mughal sultan by hiding tiger claws in his outfit, and then he met with him and murdered him. Well, he didn't murder him. He just killed the guy. It was combat. So Shivaji. What about the BJP and the VHP, or Hindu nationalism? So the BJP is the Bharatiya Janata Party, which means the party of the Indian people. And the VHP is the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. So The VHP is a very old organization stretching back to the late 19th and early 20th century to create an order of people who were holy and who were united in volunteering to unify the Hindu people. The VHP is the ideological arm and the ideological limb that created the BJP. The Bharatiya Janata Party really gets started in the 80s and the 90s and becomes the Hindu fundamentalist party. And over time, they've become the dominant political party, as I've watched in my lifetime in India. The current Prime Minister of India is Narendra Modi. He is a Hindu fundamentalist, even though he has expressed some greater tolerance since he's become Prime Minister for Muslims. He's in the BJP party. He portrays himself as a devout Hindu, almost portraying himself as a Hindu renunciate and monk. All right, Reform Hinduism. So here we have a couple of different strands. We have these different reform groups, the Arya Samaj and the Brahmo Samaj, which I'll describe. Hindu modernity, or a neo-Hinduism, a type of Hinduism that can be well suited to the contemporary world. Environmental Hinduism, and also the changes in the 19th and 20th century. So the Brahmo Samaj is out of, it's an organization that's out of Bengal, and they were shooting to create a type of Hinduism that was not Christian, but was sort of conversant with Christianity and modernity. So they were against superstition, they were against idol worship, they were pro-education. A lot of them wrote in English or Bengali. They had some mystical strands, but the really big thing to understand is this is a reform order that draws upon actually quite a bit of American lore. A lot of their founders were very much into transcendentalism, particularly the writings of Emerson and Thoreau. Many of them were also Freemasons. So you can see that they were trying to form a type of Hinduism that could almost compete as a world religion. Now, then there's the Arya Samaj. They're a little bit different. They come later. Arya Samaj, and Samaj just means like the gathering or the collection. So the collection of the pure. Arya comes from the Sanskrit word Arya, which means literally pure, which goes also back to the root Ar, which means to kill. So like the victorious, powerful warriors who were pure. When you hear the term Aryan being used in the contemporary world by sort of fascists, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists, they're actually taking a very old Sanskrit term and appropriating it in the way that Nazis did. Anyway, the Arya Samaj comes out of the Punjab, not out of Bengal, and they have a pretty interesting organization. They have nuns and monks. They, like I said, not unlike the Brahmo Samaj, they're very much modern in their thinking. They embrace science. They do most of their literature in Hindi or in English. They don't worship in temples. They don't worship images. They have a sort of monotheistic Hinduism in which sort of God is everything and is almost sort of eternal energy. I was talking to an Arya Samaj friend of mine recently, and we were talking about how really not a lot of people talk about rebirth. Not a lot of Hindus really talk about nirvana. They talk about it, but they don't expect it to happen to them. They expect to be reborn in a heaven. And he was saying that the way his family and his sort of family's teachers would always describe it is when you die, you merge with this absolute consciousness and energy that one could call God. They don't even talk about rebirth, which is an intriguing problem as we think about Hinduism. Green Hinduism. So there are increasingly groups throughout India and throughout the world who believe that Hinduism must be environmentally balanced. And this is a powerful movement in India because it challenges water rights, the building of dams and deforestation. And even in my lifetime going in India, I've just seen a colossal amount of environmental degradation. But now there are sort of Hindu thinkers that see the world not as a place to just, do your thing and then be done and be reborn, but a place that needs to be taken care of and maintained as the very body of God. Internet Hinduism. Well, Hinduism's on the internet. It's not just the Hindus that are on the internet, but you can contact temples throughout India and you can have them do a worship ritual for you. And you can even do that over Zoom. You can pay for it over PayPal. You can solicit a ritual to be done for you. And these days, in the way telecommunications has changed, they can put you on a camera or on a phone or on a laptop or whatever, and you can, from the comfort of your own home, you can actually interact with the priests as they do the rituals for you. We find that communication is easy across the world now. It's, to make a long distance call in India, you had to go to these special phone stalls. Now the majority of Indians have cell phones, and people can easily communicate with WhatsApp with their relatives in the United States or wherever they are in the world, and people that live, and Indians that live in the world, and all of the world, can contact their religious teachers and religious figures very easily in a way that is unthinkable in the past. And this is leading to a point where we are going to see Hinduism practiced all over the world, but closely network with what's going on in India. Communications across the world. Like I said, here's Ganesh, our elephant-headed god who rides a mouse, but look here, he's using a mouse on a computer and he's looking at the world. So that's the thing, is as the world is united via technology, so Hindus are, and so Hinduism can transmit itself throughout the world in exciting and new, wonderful ways. Virtual puja, I just talked about. So a puja means ritual worship, and you can contact someone from wherever you are and they'll do the ritual in the temple. And in fact, I foresee that there's going to be future services where we will be able to even more interact across the internet in these sort of worship rituals. We see a lot of this in what's called digital Hinduism, which is an upcoming field that studies the way that Hinduism is flowing across the internet. There's quite a bit of scholarship on this coming out now. Like I said, worldwide Hinduism worldwide. So note here we have Shiva as Shiva Nataraja, the Lord of the Dance. He's surrounded by fire, and he's stepping on the epilepsy demon. It's an apasmara, though folks will now say he's stomping on the demon of ignorance. But while Hinduism has a notion that it is cosmic, that it is the religion of the cosmos, that the Vedas ring out everywhere, it is very much connected to India. Nowadays, we are seeing a worldwide notion of Hinduism. And as I said before, you'll be able to worship as a Hindu all over the world, but those connections are maintained to India. Rather, will we see a type of Hinduism that is disconnected from its Indian context? I don't think we ever will. All right, Hinduism as technology. So one of the interesting things we're finding is that Hindus are not becoming less Hindu as they're becoming more technologically sophisticated, but they connect the Hindu traditions to technology. So you would say, how can you talk from one land to another? And they would say, oh, you just send a duta or a duti, a divine messenger, just like always. And Sanskrit, the language, is said to be the closest natural language in the human existence to connect to computer language, a computer bhasha. They say that Sanskrit and computer programming are so rules-based that someone who knows Sanskrit will have a natural edge in computer programming. I sure do not. Temples and tech, we are finding music recorded that is played. It would have always been live before. We're finding cameras. We are finding lit up and mechanical deities. We're finding all sorts of integration of temples and technology. And 21st century Hinduism is going to become a Hinduism that is not primitive in any way, but embraces technology. I have a friend doing research on sort of computer laboratories in Bangalore, and he refers to these computer laboratories as being thought of as like sort of as temples, and the work of the computer is done by Vishwakarma, the god of building. So there's Vishwakarma right there. Notice he's crafting the world there. So the divine engineer, the divine mechanic. So he's thought, Vishwakarma, the guy that creates the universe, is thought to be particularly astute with technology. And look at Ganesha here, who likes his mouses from a computer more than his beloved Mushika, his little mouse that he rides around, which kind of makes me angry. NASA is to eket o Sanskrit in space. You can hear people say this all the time. You can hear this notion that Sanskrit is not a primitive or a dead language, but a language well suited to science. Temples to tech. We have swamis on the internet. We have temples on the internet. Let alone the way that very few scholars actually use paper dictionaries anymore. In fact, we all use these electronic dictionaries that are much faster to use when you are exploring the wild lexicon of Sanskrit. So that's it. That's the Big 25. It's over. Go have a beer or do whatever you like. I have this picture here of Kingfisher beer is one of the most popular beers in India, and some snacks. And I took this picture at one point when I was traveling around India, and I decided to just take pictures of regional beers. So that's the Kingfisher Strong. It's like a 7% beer. It's pretty sturdy, but it has a better flavor than the less potent one. So at the end of the day, go get some snacks, have a beer, and I hope you enjoyed the Big 25. I know this was a long lecture, and you won't have any others really long like this, but it's making one overall argument. There is not one Hinduism. There's lots of Hinduisms. And when you try to figure out what is Hinduism, you can pick 25 things and call them Hinduism. I bet I could pick 50 things. I settled with 25. So I hope you have a good day, and I'm enjoying having this course with y'all. Take care.